Welcome to another episode of Divya's Discoveries. It's going to be my last little dose of mentoring for you Excellence Program peeps before the holiday break, so I hope you enjoy it. My question for you this week: what would compel someone to walk home in the rain with a sprained ankle, carrying a heavy box and an umbrella? The answer, in my case, was fear. Fear of asking, fear of imposing, fear that if I asked someone for a ride, it would be out of their way and they wouldn't be honest with me. That they would say yes and then kind of be resentful for having been asked, rather than honestly say, oh, sorry, I can't, I've got somewhere else to be, or it's not convenient for me, and it was interesting for me to have this insight, this realization. Can you picture me? Like I walk home from my weekly business meeting normally, home to the office, they're across the street, but that's a regular experience for me, but with a sprained ankle and in the rain and carrying a Kris Kringle box as well as a box of printing that I had picked up, trying to carry an umbrella at the same time, in walking home thinking, geez, this wasn't so clever. How did I come up with this? Reflecting on that experience, I found the subtle story. The subtle story was, well, I don't really want to ask someone because, what if they don't want to, but then just say yes out of nicety. And so, of course, if that's the fear, if I'm not trusting the other person to share honestly and authentically their experience, to say yes congruently or no congruently, then that reveals some aspect of my life where I'm not being fully honest. And in reflecting on that, I found the space where I wasn't fully sharing with someone my truth, was kind of more catering to hers. In this particular context, I had, in my experience, been quite generous with this person when she was struggling. She was in a time she was not in a very good headspace, and I felt like it would be totally misaligned if I didn't offer her something to support her during that time. And I knew that, well, she said she didn't have the resources to fund that, and I recognized that and said, that's fine. I know you'll pay me when you can. And then discovered that she had been investing in somebody else's services, paying them rather than honoring this debt that had been accruing or holding for several months, that I had just sort of let slide until she's ready to pay it. And I noticed myself feeling hurt by that. Of course, the hurt was the story around, oh, she values this person's services more than mine, so she's investing in them. That's where the hurt was coming from. It was noticing that story. So I noticed that story, and I remembered how priceless it is for someone to see us struggling and support us, to say, I'm here for you, and I can afford this investment in you, and to do that graciously and generously. And I recognized that in me, and I released the hurt and had a centered, honest conversation with her. And I had coffee with her and I said, look, I've realized this, and this is how I felt when I heard that she was investing in one of my colleagues' services. And she said, I get how you could have felt that way, and I'm really sorry. And ultimately it was my colleagues being firm about, well, my program is this valuable, so if you want this is what you'll fund. So her story around that versus my willingness to say, I'll let it slide until you're ready. Noticing the difference in our stories created those different outcomes. You know, she didn't buy into the I don't have any money story. My colleague didn't buy into that, whereas I had. And so I had created that experience for myself. But how beautiful that we could share. That I took time to have that conversation and to say, this is the story that I had been telling, and this is what I felt, and I wanted to share this with you, and what can we do moving forward. And because that conversation happened in a grounded, clean, and centered space where there was no attachment to an outcome, just an exploration of, this is how I feel. I felt hurt when I heard this, and there was no energy around it. She was able to say, oh yeah, I totally get that. And rather than fear coming up or any other stories, it was just, yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, I'll find a way to prioritize this. So my invitation for you this week is, have a look at where you're not trusting other people. If you're not trusting them to show up, or to be punctual, or to be honest, or whatever it is, if you're not trusting them to consider your needs, and reflect that on self, because there will be some element where you're not doing that for you. So have a look and see what you find. Have an epic week, and I will speak to you when we're back from holidays.